Squarespace 7.1, the brand new interface rolled out by the DIY website creator loved by millions, including me. In this video, I'm going to tell you if it lives up to the hype. On this channel, I talk a lot about Squarespace, personal branding, social media platforms like Instagram, email marketing, practical advice to look good online. If these are topics that interest you, I'd love to have you around here a little more often. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell to be notified when I post next. Now, let's talk about Squarespace 7.1. Today I'm in Merida, and the question comes from Spencer, who asks, Phil, what's your opinion of Squarespace 7.1? Are you a fan? Great question, Spencer. Thank you for that. Today I'm giving my opinion on it, the pros and the cons, so that you can decide whether 7.1 makes sense for your brand. For those of you that have been wondering what 7.1 is, let's start there. Squarespace 7.1 is described by the company's own words as this: a new take on our design system with a more streamlined options for styling your site and adding content. And I would agree with that description. Before we talk pros and cons, let's talk first about knowing which version you're on right now. When you're logged into your site from the dashboard, you'll click Help in the list of options and then scroll down and take a little look in the bottom right corner. It will describe the Squarespace version and the theme. So you can see here that I'm on the Brian family template on 7.0. But I made the big decision to migrate my website over to 7.1, and it's a big decision for a reason that I'll share in a moment. This leads me to my first pro of 7.1. Pro: improved design. This new version of Squarespace puts a huge focus on design, specifically reorganizing design elements so they're time-saving and less redundant. On 7.0, all style choices are stored in one place. From the dashboard, you'll click Design and then Site Styles, and nearly everything is here. You'll find yourself manually setting a lot of colors and a lot of fonts in general settings, and it's fine if you're used to it, but it does take a lot of time and it can be tricky to find something you need. On the new 7.1 design, they've totally changed how site styles are grouped, and I'm going to show you. From the dashboard, click Design, and right away you'll see that things are organized differently by type of design element: fonts, colors, animations, which is new, spacing, buttons, product items, image blocks, and more. Fonts now come in suggested pairings, good for people building their own website, but not necessarily for people like me who brand for a living and have a clear idea of what fonts they want to use, pre-chosen by designers. But the color changes I really like. Now you can set default colors for white, black, light dark, and an accent color. Once you set those defaults, they apply throughout the site. No need to manually set every single one, but you can change them in specific instances if you want. I found this to be a huge time saver. I love that I can set different colored pages without using any code or previous hacks needed, like saving a colored pixel image and setting it as the background. We've also seen the removal of templates or themes, now just layouts. No need to stew over which template you want to use to determine the style parameters for your brand. Everything is universal, and as someone who's made over 100 Squarespace websites, I think this change just makes sense. With so many similarities, it didn't make sense to have to choose a template. Layouts are much better. This also means the removal of sidebars. So if you're a blogger, you likely need a sidebar, even if they're out of style and difficult on mobile, which they are. That's technically a con, but there's an awesome workaround for those of you who need a sidebar, like a blogger. There's a great plugin by Squarespace Themes. It's paid, but it's totally worth it, and I'm linking to that below. It also means the removal of another element that was seriously slowing down my website, and it's the primary reason I made the switch. No more indexes. An index is a Squarespace content type that takes several pages and displays them as one long scroll. This was great when it was introduced, but I used it to display my client projects and had over 50 of them, so it was easy for me to duplicate parts of an old one to save time on the new one. But with each client project being made up of 5 pages in an index, I quickly racked up a lot of pages on my site, over 400, so I get an error message now every time I want to make a new page, and my site was slow. But that changed with 7.1 and the removal of indexes and the introduction of the portfolio feature. Now look at my new site, which makes great use of this portfolio feature. Now I have over 60 projects across 9 categories. It's a lot, but now each portfolio item counts as only one page, and it's completely customizable, as well as a portfolio page that houses the project. This has significant significantly improved load time for me, and the back end is much more organized. This is the main improvement that drew me to the new interface. So it all sounds great, doesn't it? And maybe you're already convinced that newer is better, so you want to migrate your website from 7.0 to 7.1, but not so fast. I wish it was that easy, but unfortunately it's not. This is what I consider to be the biggest con of 7.1. Con: there is no easy way to switch from 7.0. This is beyond absurd to me. And frankly, it's disappointing for loyal Squarespace customers like me that are not able to enjoy the benefits of the latest platform by having an option to upgrade or migrate over easily. If you want a website on 7.1, you have to build it from scratch. Squarespace buries the fact that it's not possible to switch versions of the site, and they don't say why. I'm assuming it's because it's built on a new platform, but even then, they should have considered this in the rollout of 7.1. It's not possible to switch, and instead you have to recreate your site's content. Sounds time-consuming, and it is for bigger websites, but what about content like blogs, which have comments posted by users embedded on posts? And there's no recreating those. You'd simply lose them. It is possible to import and export products, but it is not possible to import and export blogs, which again is problematic, and it's an oversight by Squarespace. In order for me to avoid manually migrating hundreds of posts and losing comments, I had to export my Squarespace 7.0 site to Wordpress, Squarespace's competitor, and then re-export from WordPress back to Squarespace 7.1, which the platform does support. It's absurd and it's frustrating, and definitely the biggest con. As you can see, I have strong opinions on this, and I imagine many of you do as well. Understandably. I've got one more con that I don't think is as significant. Con: no more gallery blocks. They have done away with this feature. You might recall on 7.0 being able to add galleries as content on a page, as a slideshow, carousel, grid, or stack. But now if you click over to 7.1, it's not an option. You'd have to instead add images via summary block, or click to add a section to your page and you see this new menu. Click Gallery and explore the options available. I'm not as worried about this update. There may be specific functions that you're used to that you can't execute anymore, but I'm confident you'll find a workaround. I know I have. If you start a new Squarespace website today, it will automatically be built on 7.1, and if you're on 7.0 and you're thinking of making the switch, is this something you should do? My advice: decide based on your priorities. I'm making the switch because of the portfolio feature and the improvement of organization and load time, which significantly affects the user's experience, and that matters to me. That said, we're recommending to some clients not to switch. If you've got a lot of content that's difficult to migrate over, it's just not worth the time and the money. I've noticed a few bugs here and there on Squarespace that they're likely working out, so don't be too tempted by this shiny new object. It is far from perfect. I'm talking about 7.1, and you'll have to decide if the move over is worth it to you. Now I want to hear from you. Which version are you on? Are you thinking of making the move to 7.1? If you're on 7.0, any considerations or concern, I'd love to know. Comment below and I'll keep an eye on those and respond personally. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate a like and consider subscribing for more videos here on YouTube where I discuss Squarespace, branding, social media, practical advice to look good online. Next, I'm linking you through to some videos that I think you will find helpful. I'm Pallen. Thanks for watching. Those are coming up next.